Thank you so much for being here with us, Dianne.
Thanks for having me, Andy. It's lovely to meet you.
Yeah, right back at you. So let's talk about this topic of stress. So I'm sure most people know what stress is, but what is stress to you, and what about it specifically can cause aging?
Yeah. So stress is actually a chemical reaction in the body that's in response, and the chemical reaction is the secretion of stress hormones, cortisols, and adrenaline. And it's built into our limbic brain and autonomic nervous system for self-preservation. And what triggers it is the environment, stimulus from the environment, or perception of our environment.
Yes, that's a good one. Perception of our environment. not
Yeah.
not always something that maybe is happening, but maybe something we perceive as happening, or something from our past. So like, how specifically does stress affect our ability to age slower, age more quickly?
Yeah, so let me just back up a little bit and talk about stress is a response, an automatic response in the body that's built into our limbic brain to, keep us safe and to preserve our life, really. So there is acute stress and then there's chronic stress. And in acute stress situations, the example that I give is when I encountered a rattlesnake while I was mountain biking, right? So in that acute stress situation, I would go for a mountain bike ride every day, and I'd go up to the top of the mountain. I'd find a place to sit down in nature, and I would do some meditation. And so I'm, sitting quietly for, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes. And then when I'm done, I just stretched my arms up overhead. And as soon as I stretched, I heard this, and it was the sound of a rattlesnake. And it sounded very close. I didn't know where it was, never saw it, but the sound automatically, triggered that freeze, fight, or flight mechanism that's hardwired in the limbic brain. And before I knew it, I had leapt up from a cross-seated position on the ground to, some distance away from where the noise was. And that is how, the freeze, fight, or flight response is built into our system, hardwired, so that we can react immediately without having to think about it to save ourselves from a life-threatening situation. As soon as I was away from that noise, I realized I was safe. After some time, I was able to go back to my bicycle and pick it up and get out of there. But my nervous system, returned back to homeostasis and balance, so I was fine. In the case of chronic stress, people hold on to stressful situations and they relive it over and over again, and they hold that stress inside their bodies. The example I give with that is I used to have a business called Passing Performance, and that was specifically geared to law students who were preparing to take the California State Bar exam. And it was a holistic stress reduction program to help those people that experienced performance anxiety and panic attacks, right? So they knew the information in their brain, in their mind. They had, gone to law school, they studied it, they did well on their test exams. But when it came to actually sitting for the real final exam that was going to, either make or break their career, there was so much riding on that line that they perceived it as such a threat that it triggered that freeze, fight, or flight response, and they literally could not retrieve the information from their forebrain. Because when that freeze, fight, or flight response is triggered, the blood flow to the forebrain, which is responsible for critical thinking and retrieving, information, it goes blank. And the blood is really pouring to the hindbrain in response to that freeze, fight, or flight and having to fight or flee. And so blood is pouring to the muscles and the heart rate. And so that's why people, when they have a panic attack, they feel like they're having a heart attack because their heart starts racing. Their muscles start to tense up. So with my, business Passing Performance, I had a 5-week course, in which I taught a holistic stress reduction program. And so I saw an 80% pass rate with the students that I worked with, where the exam, the California State Bar exam, has a 50% failure rate. So it was a marked improvement. So that's kind of a situation of not a real threat, but a perceived threat, and how it can affect that freeze, fight, or flight response in the body, and the secretion of the stress hormones, the cortisols and the adrenaline. So toxic stress is something else, and that is, it includes the performance anxiety, the panic attacks. Toxic stress can also come from relationships and toxic thinking, right? Toxic relationships, toxic thinking, that also create a chemical response in the body of stress, right? So, and those are the areas that I work in. And stress, when the body is in a stress mode, the studies from, cellular biologist Bruce Lipton, who's in Heal Documentary and so many others, shows that the human cell cannot be in that growth mode, which is the supporting immune function, and be in the protection mode, which is that freeze, fight, or flight mode at the same time, right? It's in either one or the other, but it can't be in both at the same time. So when we're in a stress situation, an acute stress situation or chronic situation, your cells cannot be in that growth mode, which supports immune function. So with the chronic stress, we're actually suppressing immune function for a long period of time. And that weakens the immune system over time and makes the body more susceptible to illness, disease, and aging is a part of that.
Got it. So lots of kinds of stress, and your first example of the rattlesnake, I was relating to my experience not so long ago of walking out our door to go walk our dog and coming across a snake. And in North Carolina, there are a lot of deadly snakes, and so it was quite acute stress, and even also, right, like leading to chronic stress is like even just the memory of it can create some stress inside of my body, just reliving it and thinking of it. I don't really think about it that often anymore, but when I do, I'm like, wow, that I can actually feel that like fear still in there. So it's so interesting how it's all interconnected. So I guess going back to the topic of healthy aging, is there anything else you can say around like stress specifically creating us to, obviously there's the link with all the chronic illness and things like that, but also just aging more quickly, not living as long and healthy of a life?
Yeah, well, when we are living with chronic stress, it creates this oxidative stress in the body, and actually breaks down our body's natural ability to stay healthy, right? So oxidative stress creates an imbalance between the free radicals that naturally occur in the body and the antioxidants that naturally occur in the body. So when we are supporting the antioxidants, they are keeping the oxidative stress in balance, right? And that can be largely controlled and affected by not only the physical environment, but our perception of the environment.
Got it. Right. Physical environment, right? Diet and exercise and things like that, as far as antioxidants go, is that like,
diet, exercise, meditation is like really number one. Balancing out the stress that we have in our lives with an equal amount or maybe even more of stress reducing techniques, right? So yoga is great. Meditation's always number one, right? Because you're really training the mind to get out of that beta wave brain activity, which is like that high alertness. It's where our conscious mind resides, and where we are, doing our daily work. Actually, no, it's our unconscious mind. We're doing our daily work in the unconscious mind, and in the subconscious mind, which is running also the autonomic nervous system and responsible for freeze, fight, or flight. So we want to, some techniques like yoga and meditation are helping to calm down an overactive mind, get into that state of alert yet calm relaxation, where the mind and the body is more receptive to learning, more receptive to healing. There's studies that are being done now, through the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza that I'm so, enthusiastic about. He's been doing just great studies and publishing them now that shows how the telomeres of our genes are actually extended, and they're responsible for, the free radicals and longevity in our life. So they help create antioxidants in the body, extend the telomeres, and turn on genes in the body that actually create protection of the human cell.
Love Joe Dispenza. He's amazing.
I know. So exciting. I'm so just turned on by his work.
Yeah, he's actually in our Via film, The Tao of Quantum Physics, and he blows me away. Like, he's done such amazing work over the years, and every new thing he does is just fabulous. So I love that.
The last year and a half, he's off the charts, and I'm thrilled.
He certainly is. So any other, like, obviously we've talked about meditation and yoga, things to really get ourselves back into that state of being able to heal and receive and all of that. So any other kinds of ways that you help clients reduce stress in their life, to live a longer life, to live a happier life? Any other things you could share there?
Yeah, well, giving the body time to rest and restore and rebuild is really, really important. So, and it's important to get, good sound sleep in alignment with the circadian rhythms of the body, right? So people that are working graveyard shifts, it creates so much stress on the body and the mind. Let me see, my client that was in Heal documentary was actually, an airline attendant, stewardess for a lot of years, and still is, I think, probably over, I don't know, about 35 years when I was working with her, and that's been about 5 years ago now. And so she did a lot of transatlantic flights, and that's hard on the body, So getting good restorative sleep in alignment with the sun and the moon and the circadian rhythm, the body's natural rhythm, is really important. Getting ample exercise is really important. You want to move the body, you want to get outside. Nature plays a really big part in the holistic approach that I have. So I encourage my clients to go outside and exercise. If they're in cold weather, see if you can just go outside for a short walk, and get some fresh air. It's so important. If you're locked inside an office during the day, take time to look outside the window and look at the trees, look at the birds, look at the sky, clouds if there's skies, if there's that. Anything that you can bring in nature into your energy, right? Really, and just appreciation of that. So as I'm sitting here with you, I'm looking outside and I'm looking at these beautiful pine trees and blue sky and clouds, and it's exquisite. And when people come to work with me, we sit outside and do the healing work. So I don't keep an office in town. People come into Topanga Canyon, where I live and work, and it's a rural environment, and we sit outside and we look at this magnificent landscape. And all sorts of interesting things also show up in nature to help facilitate the process. Another very important part of my holistic approach to stress reduction is communication skills. So when we don't communicate clearly and completely and honestly from the heart, and our our partners are falling short of our expectations, you know, because they don't know what we want because they're not mind readers, we're left feeling hurt and disappointed by them. And that hurt and disappointment leaves a little black mark in the heart and a little black mark in the mind. And pretty soon, you know, they're no longer happy and they want to call it quits. So the relationships and the miscommunications that people have in relationships cause a lot of mental and emotional upset and stress. So learning new skills in heart and soul-centered communication is an essential part of my holistic approach to healing the body. And I teach, you know, I have a couple different workshops and retreats that I teach these skills at. Communication is a large part of it. Commitment to Love is a 2-day intensive workshop that's focused just on the communication skills. And I offer that in Topanga, and we'll be offering it at other places as well. And in all my other retreats, the communication portion is a very important part. And some of the tools that I use to teach these skills are the 9 traps of unconscious loving, which are actually the 9 traps of miscommunication that people will fall into that undermine their loving intentions. And trap number 1 is expecting the other person to be a mind reader, right? So that doesn't work. Another tool that I use is the 7 steps for clarity and peaceful conflict resolution. And that is 7 steps that really allow one and show them methodically how to go through and identify what feelings and upset they are holding in their body, and then define what those feelings mean to them personally, because everyone has their own relationship to what they identify as an emotion. And then moving through those lower vibration emotions into the middle ground of understanding and even willingness to look at the other person's perspective, also willingness to look at alternative solutions. And because there's always more than one way to resolve something, but when we're in an emotional upset, our mind is full of a bunch of thoughts and emotions that we can't make sense of. So this 7-step process really helps people to get clarity for themselves, and then to share that clarity with their partner or even business partner, and move through them, and then always ending in step number 7, which is gratitude. So we're always ending in gratitude and love and appreciation. So those are some of the 2 tools that I use in the heart and soul-centered communication skills that are essential to my holistic approach, and which I use with all my clients individually and in all my retreats and workshops.
I love that communication is one of those tools, because I totally get it, right? Like, I'm sure so many people watching could have the experience of potentially telling ourselves that our partner or our friend or our whoever should know exactly what we want, and that is not true. Right? Without,
no matter how long you've known them, how much in love you are, you know.
Yep. And right. And what kind of an effect that can have on a body and a relationship and a partnership. Absolutely. I can, you know, those times when we don't get clear about, oh, wait a second, hold on, wait, my expectation is that he knows exactly what I want in this moment. Like, let's go snuggle in bed, as opposed to saying, hey, honey, would you come snuggle with me? And then not doing it, and resentment and any number of things. Yeah. No, I love that. That's beautiful. So, do you have more to say about that?
Yeah, there is a little bit more to say about that, and that is that the other part is oh my God, my mind just went blank for a minute.
It's all good.
You can edit that out.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. God, where did I go with this?
We were talking about communication skills, and I mean, I could just ask you another question if you want to roll into something new, but I'm not sure. We are just talking about relationships and communication skills.
What did I want to say? All right, go into something else, because I just
okay. Yeah, we can make we'll make a little snip there. That'll be fine. So, okay. What about things like positive affirmations and, positive self-talk and that kind of stuff? I think there's a lot of people that say those are really great things to do. And then other people saying maybe that if you don't actually believe it, it's not actually that helpful for you. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So positive affirmations and positive self-talk is really wonderful for anchoring, right? However, you can't do what's called the spiritual bypass. And the spiritual bypass is skipping over the hurt feelings and the disappointments and maybe, the trauma that one has suffered early in life. So, and then just apply positive affirmations and positive self-talk and think that it's going to work. Because if there's a really loud inner saboteur voice that resides on the inside, there's no amount of positive affirmations or self-talk that is going to override that voice. So that inner saboteur voice that resides in the subconscious level says or believes you're not worthy enough, you're not smart enough, you're not lovable, you're not good enough, all that negative self-talk, right? And if that inner saboteur voice is not acknowledged and healed at the deepest level of the heart and the soul and the subconscious level, it's not going to cooperate with any amount of positive affirmations that's taking place in the conscious mind. So what I wanted to say about that is that only 5% of our kind of daily activities is controlled by our conscious mind, our thinking mind. 95% of our, how we react and behave in the world is controlled by the subconscious mind. And that subconscious mind has been largely imprinted from early childhood, right? So between the ages of like 3 and 12, the child learns survival strategies and coping mechanisms to kind of feel safe in the world that it's been brought into of adults that it doesn't really understand from the child's perspective. So it develops coping strategies and survival skills that feed an inner saboteur voice, or can feed an inner saboteur voice, that then becomes the operating program in the adult. So by the time you're, 35 years of age, you're really reacting and responding to life situations and relationships, particularly, because those are the ones that trigger us the most. Mm-hmm. And those automatic reactions are coming from the subconscious mind, really from the experience of a child. So that's why doing that spiritual bypass doesn't work, because inside of all of us, there is a little child. There's little Andy, there's a little Dianne, there's, a little Ike, mm-hmm. that, is working off of survival strategies, mm-hmm. developed in early childhood. So the work that I do addresses that. This actually goes into the way that I work holistically. And the holistic approach that I use addresses all 4 levels of our being: the physical level, the mental level, the emotional level, and the spiritual level. And in that subcategory of mental level is the subconscious level, right? And I've broken the work down into 4 areas of focus: aiming, healing, anchoring, and then communication skills. So in the aiming portion, we're actually identifying where in the body one is holding stress or upset or dis-ease. And doing this process allows you to kind of build a better understanding of your own body language and what your body's trying to tell you. When it's moving out of balance and feeling at dis-ease, it will give you indications of that, right? Mm-hmm. You'll tense up, or you'll, feel a stomach ache or headache or something like that. So we dialogue with parts of the body. The technique that I use for accessing information on the body is something called Somatic Dialogue. And how I do that is through a technique that is similar to hypnosis, where I guide someone through a closed eye process. And it allows us to slow down that overactive thinking mind and get down into an alert yet calm, relaxed state that you feel safe in. And it allows us to access deeper levels of the heart and the soul and the subconscious level. Right? Mm-hmm. So when we're in that state of being, I then dialogue with those parts of the body that are holding on to tightness and tension. And what comes up, probably 90% of the time, if not more, is stuff from early childhood. And when that comes up, then we can move into a healing portion of the work. And the healing portion of the work can include inner child healing work, where we're, dialoguing with that inner child. We're looking at where these protection mechanisms originated, so way back. It can include sacred anger work. In a Heal documentary, you saw me working with my client that when she was throwing rocks on the hillside, that was part of her sacred anger work. And that is about moving that low, kind of stuck energy of judgment, blame, hate, whatever it is, moving it physically out of the body, so that we can clear it out energetically and physically, because the emotions are held in the physical body and we hold on to it. And there's a lot of ways to do that. Throwing rocks is the way that I find is easy to do with my clients. The way that I healed myself through going through divorce. I was married for 16 years and then went through a divorce. And then afterward, I fell in love and was in a beautiful relationship for 5 years. And then that man died, suddenly. And through both of those experiences, my healing process was, doing sacred anger work out in nature, and it was mountain biking. So every day I would cycle up the hill, and I found a special place to do my meditation and prayers and yoga. And while I'm exerting myself physically, pumping uphill, I am bringing the intention of releasing all that low vibration energy, the grief, the anger, the hurt. And if emotions are coming up, I'm letting that come out. If I need to yell, scream, cry, curse, whatever, while physically exerting myself, clearing out that low vibration energy, that black hole that I was feeling in my solar plexus that was filled with all that gook, sludge, emptying it out and releasing it. And what I found through that process is that it's really freeing and liberating. And that hole in the solar plexus that was once filled with this gook and sludge now was freed up, and I had a new opening in my heart, in my chest. I could physically feel it, and new space inside myself, lighter. I felt lighter. And then I knew, okay, well, I have an opportunity here. What am I going to replace it with? And what I consciously replaced it with was love and light and gratitude and the beauty of nature. That's, another reason why I do the work outside. Mm-hmm. And it is such a powerful, it's a moving meditation, at the same time, filling it with that love and light and gratitude and beauty. And very powerful. Mm-hmm. Can't emphasize that enough. When I, work privately with clients, often I'll take them on hiking sessions. If we're not going on down the hillside and throwing rocks, then I'll find some place and we'll go hiking. It's wonderful.
So I love everything you're saying, because I too am one that I process so much when I'm physically active, and it's so, I can't even put words on how amazing that is and how big of a part of my life it is. So if people don't do something to get rid of the guck, as you say, what happens in the aging process versus someone who does do something to get rid of the gunk in their aging process just throughout life? What happens?
Yeah. So what's interesting is that through Joe Dispenza's work, again, I'm going to reference him because it's doing groundbreaking work, in science, which is awesome. Through meditation, what happens is that it releases immunoglobulin A, and immunoglobulin A, IgA, is a primary defense against viruses and bacterias and things that attack our body on a daily basis. It's what helps keep our immune system strong, right? So through meditation, you're producing IgA and you're suppressing cortisols, right? The stress hormones. And those both have an effect on the aging process. You're also extending the lengths of the telomeres, and you're turning on the genes, right? They used to think that genes create disease. They don't create disease. The science of epigenetics is teaching us, new science that environment is what controls the genes and the expression of the genes, right? So we come in with this blueprint of a genetic makeup. However, it's the expression of those genes that determines the outcome. And through, holistic stress reduction techniques, meditation, we're actually turning on genes that create creation of new neurons, right? Neurogenesis. So we're creating new neurons that are actually creating new synapses and new neural pathways. We're creating, the ectoskeletal, or what is the word? I can't think of it. We're creating the structure for new cells to actually build upon that support immune function and turning on genes that are actually cancer fighting. So it's remarkable. And there's studies, and you'll be learning more and more about this as Joe Dispenza's work gets assimilated, and becomes just kind of common knowledge. So.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's just awesome, amazing stuff that's happening, that we can link things like meditation and getting rid of the gunk by whatever way we do, how that can link into a healthier, longer life. So I love it. So Dianne, we're running a little low on time, and I want to make sure that you get a chance to talk about a couple things. So there's a couple buttons below this video, everyone, that you can click on. So one leads over to a free gift you have for everyone, and the other to some, I think, workshops and retreats that you do. So could you share a little bit about both of those?
Yeah. For any of your listeners, Andy, I want to offer a $50 discount off of any workshop or retreat that I'm offering this year. And if they just put in the code AVAYA 2020 for 2020, and for this year, you'll get a $50 discount off of any workshop or retreat. And the ones that are coming up are Commitment to Love, which is a 2-day intensive workshop focused on heart and soul-centered communication skills, and also education about the latest science in epigenetics and psychoneuroimmunology, heart, body, mind, heart, soul, energy medicine, and all the stuff that I teach. And also Porchia's Wish Holistic Program, which includes holistic stress reduction, communication skills. And then the next retreat is in April, and that is the Wellness and Wine Retreat in Paso Robles, California, in Central California wine country, which is really beautiful. And this is a 5-day retreat where we'll have the same education and the latest science in mind-body medicine, coupled with great experiences of wine tasting in Central California, wonderful farm-to-fork cuisine by the Paso Robles chefs there. And there'll be meditation, of course. Every day we start off the morning with hiking up to, through the vineyards, up to a Mount of Olives, where we'll be doing meditation outdoors every day. And then
don't mind the nature of my dog, who just decided to bark. Teddy, go run along. Bringing the nature into the conversation. There it is.
He has something to say about that.
I think someone knocked at the door. So carry on.
Yeah. So that's the Wellness and Wine Retreat that's happening April 19 to 23 in California, Paso Robles. The next one is my Life in Balance, Holistic Wellness and Nature Retreat in Aspen, Colorado. That's September 19 to 25. That's 7 days. That's my favorite one, actually. Being in Aspen in the fall, where we see the beautiful fall colors and the changing colors in the Rocky Mountains, is spectacular. That one is a retreat where you have to be physically fit enough to do the activities, because we spend every day doing something outdoors. So we hike, we cycle, we have a silent Vipassana horseback ride on the Maroon Bells Trail, which is spectacular and breathtaking, while we're doing this education on mind-body wellness and medicine, and also communication skills and personal growth and healing work. So it's really incredible transformation over 1 week, and inspiring being in nature. So I do that every September in Aspen, Colorado, which is awesome. And
it's beautiful up there. Growing up in Colorado, I've been to Aspen several times in the Maroon Bells. Oh, heaven.
So beautiful. I love going there. Yeah.
Well,
and the Wellness and Wine Retreat, you don't have to be physically active, not as physically fit, although we will be, going up to the Mount of Olives and doing meditation, but not as kind of demanding physically as the Aspen Retreat. And then I'll be offering more workshops and seminars online sometime later this year.
Got it.
So I encourage people to, go to my website and look at my retreat page and special offers, and read up on a lot of the information that I have about holistic wellness and stress and all of that.
Awesome. Thank you. That sounds amazing. All of them sound fabulous. So and everyone, again, there's a button right below that links right over to you. Go check it out. And there'll be that code that Dianne mentioned also right below that you could just copy and paste. And one other question, I know you had something, Roadmap to Holistic Healing. What is that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Roadmap to Holistic Healing is a video seminar that I'm doing. And it's a 2-hour presentation that actually describes how I work, with my clients. And many of the things that I discussed here in today's presentation, plus videos of my current clients and past clients that tell their experience of what it's like working with me, what it's like going to retreats with me, what their inner experience is, how much they've grown. So it's really wonderful. Right now it's not available online. I'm not sure if I'll make it part of probably an online workshop. It'll be part of that.
Got it.
So right now it's part of the presentations that I provide.
Thank you for doing this and for sharing your amazing message, Dianne. I really appreciate it. And it's been awesome to connect with you.
You're welcome. Okay, bye for now.
And thank you everyone for tuning in and showing up for yourself and loving yourself and showing up for this latest class. And we'll see you again soon. Take care, everybody.